Finding the right mobile service for you or your family's needs can be a little bit tricky. There are a lot of companies right now that offer a lot of different plans, which means you could spend hours and hours scrolling online to find the right one for you. But I've made this process a lot easier for you. I spent months testing and trying most of the well-known mobile service brands in the country and comparing them to one another to find the best possible option. And this is where Tello Mobile comes in. So I spent a month researching and actually using Tello, and I took a look at what they were offering and how they performed, and then I decided to do this review on them to give you a better idea of how they work, their pricing, what makes them good, as well as how they stack up against the competition, and also what could be an issue for you when using their service. So far, I've had a pretty good experience, but I'll get into all the details in this review so that hopefully you'll have a clearer picture of what makes this, in my opinion, a great mobile service company, and so that you can know what to expect from them if you're thinking about signing up. And by the way, if you end up wanting to try out Tello, if you use the link that's down in the description, you'll get a bit of a discount that's not available if you go right to their website. Okay, let's begin. So firstly, let's get down to who Tello is and what they do. Tello's been around for about 20 years, which means they're clearly successful. Their idea was to make international calls easier and cheaper for everyone, and so far, it seems that they've managed to achieve these goals for hundreds of thousands of customers, both locally in the US and around the world. And they run on T-Mobile's network, meaning that you're essentially using T-Mobile's network coverage. They're also known for offering a pretty decent range of prepaid plans, but they also have a bunch of monthly plans that you can subscribe to as well. And they also sell cell phones, which from what I saw are pretty reasonable in terms of pricing. But how exactly do they work? Firstly, it's important to note that Tello specializes in prepaid plans, which basically means you can customize a plan on a month-to-month basis and even add to your package as you go. And the good thing about going with Tello's prepaid plan is that the minutes or the data that you buy is good for up to 3 months after you buy it, which is a good thing if you don't plan on using much data or minutes in one particular month. And this can actually save you a bunch of money if you don't plan on using a lot of data or making a lot of international calls. And another really cool thing about Tello is that all the international calls are based on the number of minutes you buy if you're using prepaid, which in other words means that a minute for a local call costs the same as an international call, which is really cool when you think about how expensive making international calls is with other services like Mint or some other name brand companies. And with Tello, you can call over 60 different countries, while Mint literally only offers 2, which are Canada and Mexico. Okay, so in terms of the subscription plans, in general, it's really worthwhile when you consider how good the service is, but obviously your choice depends on what you need. Tello has 5 plans, and with each of them they offer unlimited calls both locally and internationally, as well as unlimited text. And I think the fact that with every plan you get free unlimited calls and texts is pretty awesome. Okay, so their first plan, the economy plan, offers 1 gig of data along with unlimited calls and texts and costs $10 a month. The value plan, which is their second plan, gives you 2 gigs of data a month, unlimited calls and texts, and costs $14 a month. The Smart plan, which is their middle tier plan, offers 5 gigs of data plus unlimited calls and texts and costs about $19 a month. Then their data plan, which is their top tier plan, basically gives you unlimited data, calls, and texts and only costs $29 a month. Tello also offers an option to build your own plan, which essentially lets you choose how much data you'd like to use per month. It starts at $5, and if you run out of data, you can top it up at any time. And from all the research that I did, it's basically one of the cheapest options around, so it's definitely worth checking out if you don't plan to use a lot of data, but still want to make more phone calls per month, as the phone calls and texts are still unlimited, and you can still call overseas with them. Tello will also let you build a custom plan for your family, which is great if you have a bigger family and you can decide on the specific amount of data that you want per person. But you don't get any kind of discount for signing up multiple users, which would make it a lot more enticing, but keep that in mind. And Tello also sells new and used cell phones at really reasonable prices. I personally found a used iPhone XR in really good condition for my son for a little under $250, and a lot of the time they have sales on their website, so it's a good idea to check up on it regularly. They also have a pretty decent 30-day money-back guarantee, which means you can always return the phone that you bought from them if you don't like it for whatever reason. Okay, so a couple of quick added benefits that Tello throws in are a free Wi-Fi hotspot and Wi-Fi phone call option, which means that as long as you're connected to Wi-Fi, even if your network is spotty, say if you're in your basement or something like that, you're still able to make phone calls using your Wi-Fi's network. The only possible issue is that after 25 gigs of data on the uncapped plan, you get downgraded to 2G coverage, which can really slow down your internet speed, but most people don't use nearly that much data. And in general, their coverage is 4G to 5G, which is pretty fast most of the time, and we didn't experience any serious connectivity issues. It's also nice that Tello lets you upgrade or downgrade your plan at any time. And their subscription plans don't have any hidden costs. You're not locked in any long-term subscriptions, and they don't have you pay in advance either. You pay for what you use as you go, and that's it, which is nice and I think pretty transparent of them. Finally, one of the best things I think about Tello is that they'll actually refund you for data that you haven't used in a month if you're on the prepaid service, which means that you can get your cash back if you need to save on monthly costs, provided the credit hasn't expired yet, of course. And I think that that's a really nice touch of them that, again, just shows you how honest that I think they are. Okay, so it's really nice to find an affordable mobile service provider, but ultimately it really comes down to how well it actually works. And I was a little nervous when I first switched over to Tello because cheaper definitely doesn't always equal better, or even as good. But I was actually really surprised to see how well it worked. During the month that we used Tello, we never had any failed phone calls or texts. The only real issue was that the data got downgraded to 2G after I used 25 gigs on their data plan, which made things really slow. And if you're a heavy data user or if you don't have access to Wi-Fi all the time, you might need to take this into consideration. But honestly, I only knew that for myself because I made it a point to only use my data instead of my Wi-Fi to see how slow the service got after 25 gigs. If I used it normally and connected to the internet when I was at home and when I went to work, I definitely would not have come anywhere close to using all that data. Also, I have some family overseas, so the international phone calls that I made were really crystal clear. I had a 30-minute conversation with one of my friends who was in France, and I didn't have any connectivity issues or noisy interference or anything like that. It was really clear and pretty smooth. And that being said, when I went out to the countryside to visit my brother on his farm, the connection was a little bit spotty, but so was the T-Mobile network, but thankfully I had Wi-Fi, so I was able to connect through there anyways. But when I was looking into Tello, I did read that they will soon have access to SpaceX's new satellites, which is going to help them improve their coverage globally. So this should really help improve the spotty signal issues in the more remote areas. And another nice thing that I think I really liked about Tello is that they don't cap your video streaming quality like Mint Mobile does, which means that you can stream high quality videos without any lag or slowdown. And even though Mint does offer a slightly higher data cap, you can tell that they drop the quality. And look, when it comes to streaming, it's definitely about quality over quantity. Don't sacrifice your quality and sit there watching pixelated images and constantly having to wait for your video to load, especially when you could use a proper service that doesn't lag for a really reasonable price. So to sum things up, I found that Tello's overall flexibility is pretty much unmatched in the mobile service industry. They allow you to scale your plan as you go without any trouble and don't put up a fuss if you do choose to cancel or extend a contract with them. And as I said before, a lot of times they run loads of discounts for their customers. But again, if you do decide that you want to try Tello out, if you use the link that I dropped down below, you'll automatically get a nice discount that's not available if you go straight to their website. So be sure to check that out. Okay, so that about sums up this review of Tello, and I hope that it was helpful for you. Ultimately, I really like Tello, and I would definitely recommend them. They have great coverage and very reasonable pricing, especially when compared to the other big US services. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. And check out the link below if you're interested in checking out Tello and if you want to save a bit of money. And drop any comments or questions that you may have down in the comments section below. And I will try my best to try and answer them as soon as possible, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.